Well, today my guest is John. How are you doing, John?
Absolutely fantastic. And it's wonderful to be here with you. It's so much energy in the air. Let's do this.
I know, John, you know what? I'm very excited that you're on my podcast. So I want to thank you for being a guest. But let's start off with sharing a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and then from there, you can go right into telling your story because it's a pretty amazing story. So
Okay, let's start with where I am now. Now I actually live in South America now. I'm in Cali, Colombia, and I've been here long enough to learn the language and to understand the culture. And it's amazing that here, family is still very, very, very tight, and as well as neighborhoods. So it's kind of unheard of to live somewhere and not know who your neighbors are. So whereas back home in the States, I actually live in South Florida when I'm in the United States. There are individuals living next to me that I know absolutely nothing about. So it's amazing the difference in a different culture. So I really appreciate where I'm at. And, my story just goes from, we live life, we go through life, and the things we learn we think are normal. So I was raised apart from my other brothers and sisters. I really didn't know them, and I didn't understand why at the time. And in time, it was revealed that the man who raised me, that I thought was my father, was not my father. So I went through my whole life, even to this day, I never knew who my father was. And I never knew a whole lot about my brothers and sisters because I really wasn't allowed to interact with them and was actually kept in a separate room away from them. So when you're told your entire life, you're not one of us, you're not worthy, you'll never amount to anything. As a child, because you don't have the mental capacity, your brain hasn't developed to the point to where you can say, you're a liar, I don't believe that. As a child, you accept what you're told or what you've been taught. So as a result, all of my life, I took it upon myself to believe all of these things that I was going through was my fault. So I went through my entire life, believing that you're not anything until I met my third grade teacher named Mrs. Palmer, who used to get on one knee and just hug me and tell me how good I was, how smart I was, and how beautiful I was. And listen, I've never made less than an A since this woman took the time to tell me that she believed in me. And that's what I do today. I help people to believe in themselves. And no matter what we've gone through, no matter how dark the days were, there's always light on the other side.
That was beautiful.
Well, yeah, that was an experience. But you know what happens? I eventually I fast forward through the childhood, and I'll come back to that because there was an event that happened to me that helped me to really get over those things that I believe were normal and I thought was me. You see, my personal identity had never been formed. The identity I had was what was given to me. And it certainly wasn't in a good light. It certainly wasn't something that was conducive to personal growth. And it certainly wasn't something that was conducive to including others in your life or being compassionate with others because you've never been taught that either. So, just going on along, fast forward to later on in life, I had a horrible stroke. That now I'm in my 40s. I've managed to be halfway successful through life, but believe it or not, these things have a way of coming back to you. You start feeling down, regardless of your success. Now, I ran a pharmaceutical company. I mean, I interacted with the Food and Drug Administration. It was a very high level position. And I did very well financially and owned my own companies as well. However, you're never going to feel whole or content or satisfied when you're not plugged into who you are. You see, at this point, the ego is controlling my life. My ego, which is it's really your body defenses, your internal defense mechanisms, working on your behalf, but it's still not you. It's still the personality that you accepted as yourself. So despite doing well, I'd never, ever, ever felt, whole or satisfied or happy or complete. I had the stroke, as I said. I was able to figure out, what needed to be done to overcome this. Because after 7 years after the stroke, I had made really no progress. So taking matters into my own hand. Now, I want you to make this connection, and I want this to be very clear. When I was in this room separated from my entire family, it was the family library. And in this room, the only books that were in there were a set of encyclopedias. So after I, got used to the point of the fact that I wasn't going to get out of this room, that this was my eventuality, I started reading these books and becoming very good at becoming a researcher. And I could name the different parts of the body. And those encyclopedias that used to have these little plastic cellophane covers, pages, with the different parts of the body. So because of becoming a master researcher, being stuck in that room, when I had this stroke some 40 years later, 50 years later, I was able to go back and use those same experiences. I started to dig and research and investigate and was able to come up with ways that I could really heal myself. At the 7-year mark after the stroke, I still had no short-term memory. But doing my homework, I learned about plasticity and that we can rewire our neurons, create new brain cells. And you can make another connection through what's called synaptic pruning and get everything to reconnect. I knew that was a possibility. So just being that researcher from a young age, now here I am 40, 50 years later, and was able to use that to my benefit. And sure enough, was able to find out how to make those connections. And after 7 years, after everyone had given up on me, I was able to restore the memory. I was able to remember what happened the day before. And it was a day of tears because the entire time, imagine having a stroke, but from one day to the next, you forgot what happened to you.
I couldn't even imagine.
So every day it's like Groundhog Day. If you see that movie, right? You relive the same thing. You know something's going on inside, but you just cannot put your finger on it. But life is still going on all around you. So I get the memory back, and I continue to investigate and realize that, I'm really been sick. I have these medical conditions. I've had migraine headaches and stomach problems my entire life. Well, those were definitely attached to the trauma that you experienced as a child. There's a whole list of illnesses and conditions, chronic conditions that are associated with stress and trauma, especially if it happened when we were children, when we didn't have the mental capacity to determine if this was something good for us or not. So if it's something that's stressing you inside, whether you're aware of it or not, your body is doing what it has to do to keep you going. We call it survival mode, just to keep you going, just to keep you on the path. We're really not growing, we're just surviving. So I'm in this survival mode, and I learned the things that I need to do to heal. And after learning about the things I needed to heal, it continued on to the childhood trauma, Shannon. And I was very thrilled about conquering and getting over that stroke, getting my memory back and getting the movement back in my body because I had the paralysis and being able to speak clearly because I couldn't speak well. But to get rid of the childhood trauma, to get rid of the identity that was never mine, to get rid of those things that I was constantly fighting my entire life, that was the biggest battle that was won, the biggest victory of them all. And I went from being a victim to a victor and made the necessary changes that I needed in my life. So at this moment, peace, love, and joy are my best friends. And that all starts with me, and then it extends to everyone else. And I've learned to be compassionate with myself and loving with myself. It all starts here, and then we can share that with others. But the compassion and the self-love that I never had was the beginning of the transformation that made me into the person that I am today, and made me happy that all of those things happened, because it made me a happy, complete, and content person, satisfied with where they are in life and my ability to connect with others to help them along the way.
You know, I look at life the same way as you do. I needed to go through all those experiences to get me to where I am today. I don't think there is not one single person that I've had on this podcast that has not agreed with us. We look at our journey while we're in the process of it, and we think, oh my God, like, why is this happening to us? So I want any of those listeners out there that are going through something so horrific right now, and that you keep on questioning, like, why is this happening? There is such a big and beautiful and wonderful gift that is coming your way. And you might be in the dark right now, but my goodness, the light is just right around the corner. Is that not correct, John?
That is absolutely correct. And one of the things that I really delved into was how we're made, right? I wanted to get to the root of the problems, and how we feel is everything.
Is.
I think if we don't feel well, we don't deal with other people well, we don't heal well. And in reality, we really don't have access to this part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. And that's where our memories are, and that's where we control our emotions. And imagine living your life without complete access to this part that really determines who we are and how we operate. So yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's always something better, and especially when you understand who we are, the energy that we have inside, and once you understand how to connect to that energy, it's transforming. It totally changes your life and gives you a new lease on life. And people really will want to know how you did it. But there are no circumstances that exist in this realm that cannot be overcome. We have so much energy inside that we haven't even scratched the surface of who we are.
Exactly. And when you said, when we connect to who we are inside, right then, it was like I connected to who I am inside, and I can feel, you know what I mean? It's just that one simple thought, right? And now I feel the power within me all the time, but you saying that just even only enhanced it even more. It was just like, yes, yes.
Yes. And the more loving and the more kind and the more gentle and the more compassionate you are, the more access you have to it inside of yourself. You see. So love is what I tell everyone. You can go back to the beginning of time and you'll always see, this love at the top of the list. You see musicians talking about love. And we're not talking about the romanticized love that, that we've seen on television and in the movies. We're talking about love. We're talking about love like gravity. It works for everybody. It's orderly. There's no chaos. We're talking about love like oxygen. It works the same for all of us, regardless of what we're doing and what position we're in. We're talking about love that keeps the planet in their positions, that keeps us at the right distance away from the sun. You see, we have this orderly love or this conscious benevolence that's throughout the entire existence, through the entire universe. And when we plug that in for ourselves, and when we understand this power, my goodness, it's life-changing. And you begin to realize that, we really don't have to die to get these rewards that we've been talking about all our lives, life in heaven and things like that. We can have that right now, because even the master teachers along the way, the great teachers in history, have always told us, your treasure is inside, not outside somewhere else, inside. And when we connect, you can be like myself. I have no medical conditions. I went from taking over 30 different meds when I had the stroke. I take absolutely none. I'm almost 70 years old. I have a 2-year-old child. And she's healthy, 100% healthy. And she has more energy.
Wow, good for you. Oh my God.
Yeah, so and there's really an anti-aging effect to that as well. You're literally reversing the ravages of time.
Yes, yes. That is the number one thing. When I was chatting today on a live event that I'm doing, for years and years, because we suppress things, right?
Yeah.
That's what ages us by far. And just
Absolutely.
as soon as I started to deal with all of my demons that I had within inside me, and that's the problem. We look for these fix-its, these fix-me's on the outside all the time. And I was telling my group that in my live event that I had a whole cupboard full of fix-me's. Like I've been on every diet, you name it, I've been on it, right? Because I was trying to lose all this weight. And it wasn't till I actually surrendered, number one. Number two, self-awareness, right? Number three, forgiveness. 4, started to love myself. And I started to confront all these things from my past was when I literally started to shed everything. And I'm talking about shedding the years that I had aged. I'm talking about the pounds, everything. And I'm 54 years old now, and people would never guess it. They are beyond shocked that I'm 54. But that's because of the work that you and I both have done. I've never felt better in my entire life. I'm happy, full of peace, joy, everything.
And you look fantastic. I love to see you. See that happiness makes me happy.
Yeah, and that's what people need to really, really get and understand. Yeah, we always hear that you got to look within. You and I both know a lot of people don't know how to look within, but that's where we come in because we've been there. We've been there.
Yes, as I say, I believe in the Creator. I'm not a very religious person at all, but very spiritual, and I think I have a personal relationship with my Creator. And the message that I get from Him is that we're all creators.
We are,
and we all have that same love available to us. And if we connect with that inside, we literally have no limits to what we can do. And you and I, we have the goal of really changing the world. But that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And when you have those aspirations, you'll see that come right to you, right into your life, your attraction. Now we're really talking about the real attraction, that the universe gives us, or that the Creator gives us. But once we go into that creator mode, once we go into that image of the creator mode, we can change things. And I think right now we know we're at a point in history of the entire human family. For me, this is a great time to be alive.
Yes.
But for many others, this is probably the worst time ever. Right? But we all know that we're at that point in history, in human history. So we have to do our part to be on the side of love.
I've really noticed within the last couple of years, because I know what my life purpose is. My life is, doing God's work and helping others. And, you are who you attract. And from where I was before, even 4 years ago, to where I am now, like my whole life is all about anybody that comes into my energy, like you, we're all doing God's work.
Yes.
And I just can't believe the movement that's happening in this world, in this moment. Like with me being asked to be on podcasts all over the world now, my message, what my beliefs are. And then, vice versa, having all these special, amazing guests like you, John, on my podcast, spreading the world to everybody. Like, I really think that it is catching like wildfire because people are at that time in their life where they're like, we need help. I need help. I have no direction. Why don't I have a goal? If you don't have a goal and you're on that hamster wheel day in, day out, oh, I sure hope you're listening to us because that's how life is not supposed to be. We are brought on this earth to create.
Yes.
help better every single person that we meet. So listen to our words. We've been there. We know what it's like. It's time to get off that hamster wheel. Start setting goals, aspirations in your life.
Yes. And realizing that no matter what you've been through, it's really not you.
No.
It's not you. So, and you have so much available to you inside. And as you mentioned, I can show you the steps. You're going to feel better immediately by following the steps. But then if you practice it, you raise your emotional baseline to the point where that's where it's going to be set at. Your emotional baseline will be set, but for the first time in your life, you decided this is the way you want to feel. And at that point, everything else changes. And you may be like myself. I tell everyone, if you knew me less than 5 years ago, or more than 5 years ago, you really don't know me.
Nope. Oh, nailed it.
Not at
Oh,
all.
nailed it. Because I'll tell you, there is nobody out there right now at this moment that knows me anymore. Like I have grown and I have shifted. Anybody in my hometown in the province of Saskatchewan, they do not know who I am at all now. You know why? Because I didn't even know who the hell I was back then.
That's right. That's right. I love it.
Right? So you're saying that you know me? You don't know me. No.
That's right.
And you don't know the new me now because I've grown, I've expanded, right? I'm on a higher elevation, but I know who I am now. And that's exactly, John, you nailed it.
That's right. And we know damn well that 1 or 2 incidents in our lives does not define us as people.
No, no. Oh my, that was so good. I'm so proud of you for saying that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So what is it that you want others to know? Anybody that's gone through the stages that you've gone through, what advice is it that you want to give them?
Well, you mentioned a word that means a lot to me, and that's surrender. And, just give, surrender to love or to whatever you believe in. For me, it was surrendering to the concept and the total idea of unconditional love. And what that meant for me was if I had to justify it or if I had to manipulate it in any way, it wasn't love, right? So it's treating people like I want to be treated, whether I think they deserve it or not. That never is in the equation. I treat you like I want to be treated, and I treat others around me. So love has to be the guiding principle, and there's so much energy and power and miracles attached to that. That there's nothing in this realm that can overcome the power of love. Absolutely nothing. So if nothing else, surrender to that, ask for guidance. And if you truly, really, really want it, it will show up. We have an expression, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Well, when you're ready to submit to love, everyone else in your life that's supposed to be there, they'll show up as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Now, would you look at your life journey and say that was one of the most important things that you learned in your journey? Or is there something even more deep or more inside that you learned specifically, that gift that the universe gave you? What is that gift?
Well, my gift is to really understand, what's going on inside of us, not from a medical perspective, but from an energetic perspective. For instance, understanding how one cell in our body, has trillions of atoms on it. And each of those atoms, has the entire DNA blueprint on it. And they can make any part of the body that's necessary, but they know exactly where to go. And to understand that that's just on one human cell, we have like 37 trillion atoms. And if you counted to 1 trillion, it would take you over 30,000 years. But right now, we're only talking one human cell. And we literally have trillions of these cells in our body. So we have such tremendous energy available to us, that we've never, ever, ever looked into it. And for me to be able to understand this and to connect to it, I certainly believe it was a gift, that was given to me. And that allows me to explain it to others in a way to where they understand, yes, I have that too. And it's available for me, and it can transform my life right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. So where are you right now in your life?
I'm still growing, I'm still healing. As I said, my childhood was horrendous. It's just call it like it is. I didn't have one. I never celebrated a Christmas. Never don't know what it is to celebrate a birthday or things like that. As a matter of fact, the first matching pair of clothes that I had was the ones that I bought when I was 15 years old. So the journey continues.
Yes.
And we take small steps and we enjoy where we are. So, I'm enjoying right now, right here, what's going on in my life. I get to meet people like yourself, here, I'm experiencing blessings beyond belief. It's like my mind is blowing every day. So it's in a growth cycle, but I'm more compassionate with myself as well. I don't expect perfection from myself, and I will never, ever, ever deride myself for making a decision that I think could have turned out better.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy with myself and where I'm at right now.
And that's the thing, like people that are listening to us, we've done the work. And this is something that you don't just quit. You work on yourself every single day. And we're humans. We're never going to be completely healed. Like still to this day, when I talk about my story, there'll be triggers that'll come up. Whatever I'm doing throughout my day, there'll be a trigger that'll bring me back to my past. And I'll an emotion will pop up, whether it be mad, angry, sad, whatever it is, right? And that's what people need to understand is this is a lifelong journey. And it's never going to go away, but at least our wound is now just a little tiny scar compared to what it was. And when I do talk about my journey as well, I do, when I tell my story on my podcast or whatever, sometimes I will absolutely shed a tear.
Yes. Yeah, for the first time, Shannan, it's happened maybe 6 months ago, maybe closer to a year. For the first time, I literally shed a tear, for the things that have happened along the way of my life. Because it's not normal to not have a childhood. It's not normal to not know your brothers and sisters very well. And it's definitely not normal not to know anyone of your extended family or even who your father was. So, those emotions came rushing out. And it probably was the best thing that could have ever happened because they were finally released and dealt with. And a lot of us have things that we buried inside. I mean, we have two types of memories when it comes to stress. We have suppressed memories, the memories that we decide that we don't want to deal with, so we suppress them. But there are some things that are so horrendous and so bad that they're called repressed memories. So the repressed memories, you're actually responding to it, but you don't remember what happened.
That happened to me.
Yes.
that was when I hit rock bottom.
Yes.
That's when, my story. But that was when I was having all of these flashbacks. And I didn't know whether they were real or not. And still to this day, John, I don't know whether they're real or not.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was I could not tell anybody because I didn't know if they were real or not. Right?
Exactly.
I didn't know if people would believe me. And so that's all I thought about my whole waking hours. Are they real or aren't they real? Are they real or aren't they real? And it was just like, whoa, I went insane.
But when you can get an explanation, like we're providing, like when we're young and those things happen, the brain is not developed enough to know right from wrong. We accept what's there, but however, our natural defenses are working. And if there's something that happens that's really not good for us, it will work on our behalf.
Mhm.
And we won't remember what happened because we did not consciously participate in that decision. See? So
Mhm.
when these things happen, you're practicing every day to be a better person.
Mhm.
For instance, every day, my mantras or my prayers or my praise are around, divine love and divine peace and divine joy and how it envelops me, how it lights up my path, how it makes me a better person. So when these things come up, I'll feel them, but I never stay there
Yeah.
because I've built up that resilience to bring me right back. My baseline is up here now. It never goes lower than that. So when it goes low, it snaps right back. You see.
And you know what the funny thing is about my flashbacks? Ever since then, when I did the treatment center and all of that, right?
Uh-huh.
Think about those flashbacks at all. So I'm kind of curious, why would those flashbacks have happened at that point in time in my life? Because now I don't really care about them, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of interesting how the body works, the mind works, the universe works.
Mhm.
I think that's all of the above saying, okay, like enough is enough here. So we're going to give a little jolt to you, and we're going to see where you take it from here. Right. So, yeah, but yeah, I've always thought, well, back then I'm like, why is this happening now? Why is this happening now? Right. But you know what? In the end, it really doesn't matter. It got me to the point to where I am now. Right.
Right. Right. And it all brings us back to who we are, Shannon.
Yeah.
It all brings us back. I mean, there's no one coming on a white horse to save us.
Nope.
Regardless of what they tell us, regardless of what's invented, whatever is out there to make life interesting and better, it's just a distraction from who you truly are. And until we make that connection, we'll still be on that treadmill or that hamster wheel.
Mhm.
Because that's part of the conditioning of the system that we live in. And it's not conducive to us finding out who we truly are, because we really are powerful beings,
Yes.
extremely powerful. But I compare it to on the electromagnetic scale, we have sound waves, we have microwave, we have light, infrared rays, we have light, then we have X-rays, UV rays, X-rays, and gamma rays. So of all of these things I just mentioned, we can only see light, but all of those other energies are there. So we've been conditioned to focus on what we can see, feel, hear, taste, and touch. And all of that goes into that light spectrum, which is less than 1% of the available energy that's out there for us. So if that's all we concentrate on our entire life, we've concentrated on less than 1% of who we truly are. And you will always have that fight going on inside, because we're here to find out who we are and to become creators.
Yeah, absolutely. And I even look back at my life like years ago, right? Working a 9 to 5 job, had the weekends the same. Everything was the same over and over and over. And I look at my life now, there is absolutely no way
You can go back.
that I could go back there. No, because I know that, it's unlimited. Like I am expanding on a daily basis. Like I'm reaching out to people worldwide now. So many people, would be like, well, how do you do that? Open up your imagination, put yourself out there. I never expected that. I am, right? And I'm allowing it. I'm allowing it, and I'm graciously receiving it as well.
Yes, you have to put yourself out there, become vulnerable.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And for a lot of us, for me, that was an extreme step to take,
Mhm.
to accept the good and the bad from others, because our natural tendency is to only focus on the negative things that people say.
True.
But we've been conditioned like that. Listen, we can take a test in school and get 99 right, but we'll focus on that one big X that they put on the paper for the one we got wrong. So we've been conditioned by the X, I call it, to focus on the things that are not happening well for us. So we have to flip that script around, and focus on the good things that are happening and allow the good things to really enter into our sphere, our atmosphere. So it's just a matter of really coming back to who we are. And it's worth the fight. Everything that we've been through is there for a reason, because once you connect, my goodness, ball game over.
I can remember, because I didn't graduate high school, I didn't get a grade 12 diploma. And that bothered me for years and years and years. Later on, I did go to post-secondary education. But what I've got in me now, there is no certificate that can even come close to the knowledge that I've got within me now. All of that part of me is gone. Same as you, for the amount of people that we're helping, the books that we've wrote, the coaching that we're doing, the live podcasts, like all of that. There is no amount of education that can give us what we've got inside of us.
No. And if it's formal education, then again, it can only focus on that less than 1% of what we can see.
Yep. Yeah.
I use the example of being put into a dimly lit room and you can only see a sliver of light, and then you rush and stay in the corner wherever that light is. Well, the life is really behind you, that 99% are that darkness. So really, we're living in a paradoxical situation, because light in this case equals darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we rush to the light, the things that we can't see is really where the light is. That's where life is. So and that's what's inside of us. You see, we can't see what's inside of us, but we can see all those pretty shiny things that they say we should be pursuing.
Yeah.
But that's where happiness is. The happiness is in the darkness, or the things that are invisible or intangible. So if we can get used to that, if we can get used to not running behind the things that that they say we should run behind, and not go for the temporary enjoyment, and go for the things that really makes us who we are, we'll be good regardless of the situation we're faced with. We'll always be good.
Yeah. Comparing ourselves to others, wanting what others have. Ooh. Sadly, we're comparing ourselves to people that don't even know what they want.
Say that again.
Yeah, really?
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Such and such has this better than me. You know what? I want that. Well, why? Do you want it because you want it, or do you want it because they have it, because you think that they're better than you? Or you feel mm-hmm. that they're better than you. You feel that you'll be at the same status as them. And that's how.
Or you feel you'll be happier, or you feel you'll be more. Doesn't work.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, this was such a good conversation. So is there any final words that you want to say to everybody? Because I know that you are an amazing author. And yeah, so tell us all about this area of your life. And all of this is going to be in the notes.
Very good. I'd like to say, I think we're all on this journey to find out who we are. And in my latest book, it's called Emotional Healing, Reclaiming Your Identity. And that will be coming out in October. But we really are, everything is bringing us back to who we are. And to really connect with who we are, we have to start the healing process. And to find out who we are, we have to understand that the things that we know and hold dear probably never originated with us. So we have to take the time to investigate our feelings and our emotions and the things that we hold dear, and to see if that's really resonates with from whatever it is that we received. Mm-hmm. Especially if it wasn't something that helped us to grow and develop in a normal fashion. If we didn't have a normal childhood, or if we had things that we were in a situation that we couldn't get out of, we have trauma. And that's something that we absolutely must take care of. If not, we'll end up band-aiding it, as I say. We'll be patch jobbing it, much like the medical community do us when we're sick. You know, they'll give us a Band-Aid and say, we hope you feel better. If we don't do the work for ourselves, that's all we're doing. We're putting a Band-Aid on it and hoping we'll feel better. You know, we have to get to the point of doing the work and healing. Trauma affects us all. So I'd say one of the things that we can do is learn what trauma type or what, there's a website called ACEs Too High, ACE, Adverse Childhood Experiences. So everybody should go to Adverse Childhood Experience or acestoohigh.org, find out where you fit, where trauma is in your life. Okay. And then you can take the steps to heal. If you don't know when you're trying to heal, then you're throwing things against the wall and hope something sticks. But if you have an idea what happened in your life, then you can take, you know, specific steps, specific measures to help yourself heal. So that would be my first thing, heal up, you know, and the second, you know, get healed, and the third. And don't worry about relationships with anyone else, because if you're not healed, you can only attract someone else in your life that's not healed as well. You will never attract someone, you will never attract someone that's healed because they won't accept that. You know?
Yeah.
They can feel it. So heal up, and then feel good about yourself. That's what I wrote about in The Science of Feeling Good, my first book. How we feel is everything. If you want to feel good, practice feeling good. Smile more, you know, say good things about yourself, you know, write good things. How would you feel if everything in your life just came into a glorious conclusion like you wanted? How would that make you feel? So you need to feel that. Take that feeling, you know, when you do your prayers or your meditation, you know, bring that feeling back and practice that feeling over and over again. So that's part of the healing process. Mm-hmm. So decide how you want to feel so you can heal, and then you're able to deal with other people in a much better fashion, but more importantly, with yourself.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Well, I want to thank you for being on my podcast and being a part of my journey. Like, this was absolutely wonderful, Mr. John Slocum.
I appreciate you so much. I really do.
This was a great conversation, and you know, my audience is going to learn so much from this today, and it was wonderful. So thank you so much.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you so much for having me. Bye-bye.